too much. We've got to get out because the wind just picked up so fast and we don't know where that fire is going. And yeah, it's certainly an adrenaline rush. You want to stay calm and, of course, you know, show people what is going on there. But yeah, I'm definitely a little bit anxious myself getting out of here because it's a long line of traffic and it's moving slow.
Yeah, really handling that anxiety. We're back here watching this unfold. Yeah, we're saying as a journalist and as a reporter, you run into this kind of interface and you wonder, okay, we want to bring the public the most up-to-date information and give them visually what's going on, but yet when it jeopardizes our crews in the field, that's when it's time to get out of there. Jacqueline, I know that earlier when we were speaking with you, when those flames were coming racing down the hillside, I could hear some anxiety in your voice, mine too. I'm right there with you. James and I are you know, just nervous as well.
All we could really think about was, are you going to be able to get out of there?
Yeah, and so Jacqueline, our question too is that what are you doing to kind of manage that stress? And that's what this is. It's a very anxiety, stressful situation. What are you doing to kind of keep the calm about you?
Well, just trying to breathe and take it one step at a time. But yeah, it's really scary just because we just see that line of cars in front of us and we really can't see anything else. We're in this massive smoke of the fire. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of emergency officials actually still heading into the evacuation area. So I'm sure there's still a lot of people that need to get out right now. So
just to remind people, if you do have livestock, the Penrose Equestrian Center, they are sheltering large animals if you're trying to get out of that mountain shadows and Peregrine area, northwest Colorado Springs.
For a time about having lost them, but they did find, our understanding on scanners is 2 of them that were unknown where they were for a while. Now they're okay. So we're hearing a lot of stuff up here. And earlier we talked about we showed you that time lapse from Pikes Peak about the wind shift. You guys can pull up Weather 1 very quickly. I know the live shots are amazing. There's thunderstorms off to the northwest, up across Douglas and Jefferson County, up around the Castle Rock area and Highway 285. The outflow from those thunderstorms came ripping to the southeast across Douglas County, and that's what caused that rapid acceleration of the fire down the slope of the mountain into Colorado Springs.
Yeah. And this, again, we'll go back to the live pictures here. We have Jacqueline Rosti on the phone, and she was up there giving us live pictures and reporting as this fire was burning down the ridge.
There's a live look from our station here, and you see those huge pyrocumulus cloud. If we could zoom out on that shot just to give people a reference, it's hard to tell when our camera is so very close and zoomed in to get kind of a perspective on this. I don't know if somebody is manning this camera up on our studios here at South 8th Street just off of downtown, but boy, this thing has just simply exploded in the last hour and a half. We're being told that people are pulling over on the shoulder of I-25 near Interquest to watch the fire, and that is really impeding traffic, creating a hazard there. Please, if you are listening to us on the radio, 105.5 FM, 1240 AM, continue on your route. Do not pull over and watch. I know it is a magnificent, terrible sight to see, but really we cannot afford to have traffic impeded by this. There's a lot of people who are just simply trying to get out of the neighborhood of Mountain Shadows through the Peregrine area. You don't want to cause any gridlock or backlog for people who are actually trying to get out of that neighborhood.
Guys, hearing on scanners now that the fire department is pulling back. They're not going in to fight the structures. There are structures that are on fire, and they're letting them go. From what we're hearing on the scanners right now, the fire must still be advancing, and obviously firefighter safety the #1 priority.
Yeah, okay. So this is from our live shot. You're seeing at I-25 in Woodman, the traffic that is coming towards us is northbound. Far less people are headed south into town, but you can see a good portion of those cars have their headlights on. It's tough to see with all the smoke. It has really hidden the sun at this hour when the sun should be blazing everywhere. And certainly, you know, we are in the time where this fire is gaining much more steam and speed. They tell us that a fire grows much more rapidly between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., and obviously we're seeing that. Guys, we're going to try and get some more confirmation on any possible structures burning in the northwest area of Colorado Springs. Do we have any more update as far as the other side of this fire is concerned? I know that a big wind shift is to blame for this giant explosion, literally, of the latest advancement of this fire. I'm not sure. We haven't heard another update on the western side, though, recently.
This view right here is from Coronado High School. This is the incident command, and I don't know if maybe somebody upstairs could let us know. Is Sam out there? Do we have anybody out there who might be able to get another authority figure who can explain to people what's happening?
Can we go to KMGH right now? I see.
Let's go back to Jacqueline Rosti, and Jacqueline was out there as this started cresting the hill. Let's go ahead and go back to Jacqueline and maybe some of those pictures from when this fire started cresting that hill. And Jacqueline, are you still with us?
I am. We are now on Centennial, right at the left side intersection, and it's just, we're stopped right now, so it's moving very slowly to get out. And yeah, we're sitting here a little bit nervous, as you can imagine, but I'm sure for everyone also in this line with us, they're feeling the same tension and worry, of course, as their homes are in this area. So a lot of things going through their minds, and hopefully they got everything out that they needed, and I'm hoping everyone in those homes are getting out as fast as they can.
All right. And we want to go... Okay, we want to go. We understand we do have Sam Anderson out at the command center right now. And Sam, you were talking with Commissioner Lathan earlier. We're just wondering if do you see any public information officers out there with the Wildland Fire Team or with the Sheriff's Office or with the city?
No, everyone has left, Jamie. I feel like I think they went to Holmes Middle School to kind of figure out what's going on. Commissioner Sally Clark and Commissioner Amy Lathan were here, and I think this is just really surreal what's going on right now. They're going to figure out what they can do to help, but there is no officials left. It's really just us media. Even people have cleared out because the wind and the dirt and the ash are just so bad out here. It's pretty difficult to stand out here. So we don't have any officials. I wish I could give you more word. I had brought up to Amy Lathan, is this the time we need to activate National Guard? Is that something that needs to happen at this point?
Yeah,
Sam, I want to give some information to people who are just now being forced out of their homes. A couple of resources for you if you don't know where to go. A good resource now, WaldoFire.com. Someone has created that website just yesterday. The place that pools, places for you to stay, donations.
Yeah, did somebody else try to call me from up there? Yeah, I just got like a message from some number I don't realize, and it went on for like 10 minutes before the
this hillside was completely on fire. And you said this was the spot fires that blew over. That's how this all started?
Right. If you watch the footage, as the spot fires or the embers were starting to be picked up by that westerly or northwesterly flow wind, then it's carrying embers over and dropping them on what we call the downhill side. And then you start to watch the fires race back up the slope going towards the crest. And so that's why you started to see so many different areas igniting and then converging into one area. That was the ember shower coming down.
Yeah, Bob, we're looking at a live picture, I believe, from 30th and Centennial. I want to ask you, because there's a fear of this racing up the front range, what would you conjecture is the plan of attack? We saw some helicopters staging, I believe it was near Air Force Academy area. What is the best way to stop this thing?
Well, they have to pick up their contingency lines and basically figure out exactly what they want the perimeter to be. And at that point, you have to be prepared to give up some land and some footing on this and work in those areas to provide, whether they choose some roadway or drainage into the mountains and create a fire line along that contingency area, then widen that, fire it out, and be prepared to lay hose into it and hit it very hard with aerial attack. But as long as the winds stay as strong as they are, it's going to be very difficult to achieve.
Yeah, the fire crews did have to retreat there because they were just being overwhelmed. Bob, please stay on the phone with us for 1 second. I want to bring in a traffic angle here, and we're hearing about a lot of gridlock here, and if we could bring up Hardwire 2 so we could hear Joe Navarro. He's with KRDO News Radio, and you've been hearing that really traffic explode on this as well.
Yeah, it sure has. It really caught everybody off guard. And right now, I-25 north and southbound, we are dead gridlock essentially from Cimarron all the way up to Baptist Road. And what we're finding is, as we've been watching the cameras, listening to some scanner traffic, it seems to be if you can get on I-25 and get northbound out of this, it's going to take you 20 to 30, maybe 40 minutes. But a lot of people are using Highway 105 and Monument that at least can reroute you back through town. Also, we were looking at some of the photos here over at 30th and Centennial. If you can, we were outside a little while ago, did some traffic searches and stuff, and it looks like traffic at least 15 minutes ago looked pretty good on Highway 24. So if you can go back 30th, get yourself back onto 24, then you can kind of cruise through down by 8th Street into the downtown area. But it has been kind of confusing because we're watching people. One of the things I do need to point out, and Colorado Springs Police have called me 3 times. You guys have been talking about it. Stop taking pictures.
Yeah.
You're only causing more problems for stopping. We had people earlier today literally stopping to take pictures, and they weren't even on the shoulder.
This is a natural disaster.
Yes.
Some people may not realize that.
No, and I've noticed too that a lot of people are using this, putting on their Facebook. This is not a time. This is not a show here. This is a national emergency. And so the best bet I can say from what we've seen, if you can get yourself, if you are on I-25, work your way north out of town and make yourself get on Highway 105. That seems to be a lot of times when we see gridlock up in that area, Highway 105 is kind of a savior for a lot of people.
Yeah, how about Highway 83?
Highway 83 in the Academy area, further up that way, it's almost the same thing if you can.
Focused. Do not pull off to the side. Don't be a looky-loo. Don't be a rubbernecker. Stay with us for 1 second. We do have someone on the line who's actually stuck in traffic. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. What's your name?
My name's Austin.
Austin, where are you?
I'm on Vindicator heading east.
Okay.
Backed up right there. Okay. How backed up is it? What are you seeing?
Well, obviously it's very thick smoke, and it is backed up eastbound all the way to Centennial, and once you get onto Centennial, it's backed up northbound and southbound as far as you can see.
Now, were you in the evacuation zone?
Yes, I actually just had to leave work and come get my things and then go straight back to work. I work for AMR, and we have to evacuate the nursing home at Mount St. Francis.
Okay. Now, they had contact with the authorities, right? So we have help up there, because one thing I think that they don't want is they don't want a bunch of people trying to run up there and help. That's going to cause problems. The authorities are aware of this, though, correct?
Yes, yeah, they are.
Okay. Make sure everybody is safe there.
And I guess a viewer who just called in said they saw about 6 ambulances, Metro mobility buses heading west towards the Mount St. Francis area to help with that nursing home. So let's hope that they can evacuate that.
Another thing you would point out, so I just got a call from a friend of mine who owns a restaurant downtown Colorado Springs. He's being evacuated, and he called me about 30 minutes ago, and he said, you know what? It's not all bad people up here, but the problem is there were 16 people waiting outside his parking lot trying to help him pack stuff up, people he doesn't know. So what's happening, yeah, you do have your looky loose, but you're also finding people who want to help, and it's just, and I don't think they realize that it really is causing problems. And then these people are trying to get back to the highway.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you have to not panic, keep your wits about you. If you try and drive up there in the middle of this to help people, you're not the only one thinking that. There's going to be a traffic problem, people going up to try and help.
If you want to
do what the authorities say,
stop by Walmart, get some things, and get some granola bars, go over to Carrot Share. That's the best way you can help. But I'm going to go back where you had, I've got some more calls into Colorado Springs traffic. We'll see if we can find out some more for you. But if you can work your way out further north, that's probably your best.
Joel Navarro with KRDO News Radio, and you're keeping an eye on the traffic. I want to bring this in just...
KRDO FM Security, Colorado Springs, Pueblo. KRDO AM, Colorado Springs, where the news comes first.
Really jammed up.
Let's go over to Matt. He has some new information.
Yeah, guys, a couple things, and upstairs we'll bring the phoner in on this as well because it'll be applicable. But one of the issues that we're having right now is with the main fire up over the hills. We've had several reports in a couple spots of some new fires setting up, and what might be happening is some of the embers in that west-northwest wind coming off of the foothills and down along some of the populated areas. We do have multiple structures on fire on Flying W Ranch Road. That coming from the scanners right now, and we'll give you a little bit of a perspective here. The Pinyon Valley neighborhood that we haven't talked a lot about because you're to the east of Centennial. We do have a report of a fire just to the west of Centennial, and we've also had another report near Fillmore and Centennial, which is to the south of this map right here, as Centennial ends up hitting up with Garden of the Gods. But right now on the phone, we've got Barrett Tryon, who I believe is... Okay, so he's live at Centennial and 30th. Barrett, welcome back to KRDO News Channel 13, my friend. Why don't you tell us what's going on?
Yeah, thanks. If you, I don't have IFB the earpiece, so I'm going to set down the phone for a second. But if you look behind me right now, this is 30th Street. If you look behind me, you can barely make it out all the way down there. That is Garden of the Gods, where Garden of the Gods T-bones into 30th Street. This traffic situation actually isn't as bad as what it is on Centennial. All of Centennial, but mainly southbound, is an absolute parking lot. And I'm sure, Danny, our photographer, I mean, you can see the smoke and the wind keeps shifting directions, and it's very hard to see. I mean, it's hard to believe. I don't know. I'm not good at math. That's why I went into journalism. But it's not that far away to, to Garden of the Gods, and you just can't see it. So I think what's really important, too, we did mention earlier on the broadcast that a lot of people were coming out to look. I have still seen that. There are a lot of people pulling off. I'm going to let this fire truck pass here in a second. There are a lot of people pulling off, especially on Centennial, looking to see what is happening with the fires. Guys, stay away. There are 7,000 people that are trying to evacuate this area. And, just not a good time to look. Wait for the news people, wait for us to kind of tell you what's going on. But traffic is bad. It took me about 30 minutes to move about a half a mile. If you're familiar with Centennial, from basically Farmcrest to the post office, that took me about 30 minutes to get that far.
Yeah, and Barrett, again, for people who might just be joining us, tell us where you are, and we can see the traffic, we can see the smoke right there behind you, but where exactly are you?
Sure, we're on 30th Street between Centennial and Garden of the Gods. Garden of the Gods is behind me since I'm facing Centennial.
Yeah.
Barrett, the smoke is just thick there. Is it burning your lungs right now?
I'll tell you something, my eyes are already itching, and I've only been out here, I mean, maybe 5-10 minutes, and your throat is already starting to get a little scratchy. And I'll tell you, I see actually a lot of people with their windows down as they're driving, which is a little bizarre to me, but, you know, there is plenty of traffic, so if you don't have to be in this section of town, I think it goes without saying, please don't come to this section of town because there's already enough traffic as it is. And I'll tell you that traffic right now, it's kind of deceiving because on 30th Street it really is moving a lot faster than Centennial. Centennial definitely is bumper to bumper.
Okay. Yeah, Steve Barrett, and you were just evacuated yourself. What did you take out of your place there to make sure that you can make it at least 3 days?
Well, I have a nice collection of shorts, so I grabbed some shorts. I grabbed my Emmy that I won last year. I grabbed a very handy 6-pound Stanley Tryon. We grabbed some T-shirts, and we called it a day. It's not something to mess with. You know, I grabbed a few photos. I was pretty prepared, and especially, you know, after this afternoon's developments. I don't know if you can hear the wind. It's really picking up right now. But after this afternoon's developments, you know, it's just not something to mess with. I know there's been reports of people not wanting to leave, and as they urged yesterday, you know, you're putting firefighters in danger because they will try to save you. It's not worth it. You know, it's absolutely not worth it.
It's really not.
I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Barrett.
No, I was just going to say, you know what, the amount of traffic is worth every second, you know, of making sure that you're okay.
Yeah, hey, Barrett, we're seeing a steady stream of traffic there, headed eastbound, I believe, is where our cameras are pointed, right?
Actually, that would be actually southbound on 30th.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, yeah, a lot of people with their headlights on. Barrett, if you can, we'll come back to you here in a bit and get another update from you. Please stay safe, though. As we're covering this Waldo Canyon fire here, I just received an email from someone reporting quarter-sized ash flying through Falcon. So hopefully that ash does not have actual embers inside of it, so that it needs even more fires. And we're getting some more reports about homes on fire.
Where we're getting some of these reports from. Let's while we're waiting to get back, let's hear from Bob. If we can bring our wildland fire expert in on this. Are you still there, Bob?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Now, we're getting reports of homes on fire. We heard emergency dispatchers talking to firefighters out there on the scene. The firefighters saying, we have to run. We have to get out of here. To you, you've been on these scenes. You've seen these fires. You've fought these fires. What kind of situation are they in at that moment? I mean, how bad is this? Because I don't think this is getting through to some people who are stopping on the side of the road to take pictures or who are blocking traffic. How bad is this situation right now? This is a disaster, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The situation is at a desperate level. And remember the other day we talked about the effects of what happened to create the Storm King disaster. And we're in a very similar situation with the wind input and the fuel loading and the exposure of the crews operating in this kind of an area. So what we have is, in wildfires and in protecting structures, we have what we call organized independence. Even though you operate under a incident command system, that the company officer in charge of that fire engine has to make decisions about what houses can be saved and what can't. And oftentimes when you have a firestorm like this, it's a matter of how far back can we retreat, and we give up land. The firefighters hate to do that. But for the safety of the crew and all practical sense, if the house hasn't been mitigated and they haven't taken the precautions of closing off the vents and removing the firewood from the outside of the house, then these are all compounding factors that tells the company officer to basically take a strategic retreat and look for another location to perform their duties.
And Bob, a lot of people were wondering. I mean, this seemed to have just come right out of the blue. Wasn't in the fire plan earlier today. And for fire managers, how much of a nightmare scenario is this? Because it didn't look like they were planning on putting any lines over in that area. It doesn't look like they had any lines in this area.
Well, it appears to me, and I don't have an incident action plan or haven't been in on this particular fire, but it looks as if they were depending on things like the Rampart Range and natural barriers to provide this, and you know, they just have not been able to make the progress to get flanking lines up through some pretty steep and pretty nasty terrain as far as the fuels are concerned. So it's a Herculean effort that they've been providing already, and the troops out there have been doing a great job, but there was just no way to really catch that flank to get it up near the head of the fire.
Yeah, and this is, to remind people, this is the best of the best we have out there managing this fire at Incident Command. And this just goes to show, doesn't it, Bob, how much of a dry and dangerous situation we are in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been preaching this from the fire department and fire managers prospect for the last 50 years about the situation in the western United States. And unfortunately, it looks like this year we're living it, and all up and down the Rockies are having some severe issues. I just got report of a new fire in Boulder, the Flagstaff fire. So it's not just us. It's all the way up from New Mexico and Arizona all the way up into, now we're getting into Wyoming.
Really dangerous situation out there. Our conditions are comparable to when we saw the Hayman fire back in 2002. Bob, I want to update people on a bit of a traffic hazard here. We're being told that Centennial in Colorado Springs is now a one-way street effective now. All lanes of traffic are going downhill towards Garden of the Gods. So again, Centennial is in effect a one-way. We're now getting someone calling in saying that firefighters have been called in for a rescue at a home on Tamworth.
Emergency dispatchers now getting the call, sending crews out there. A home in the 5500 block of Tamworth Drive. That's near Mule Deer. Oh boy, this is
not a good situation. I also believe we have Eric Singer standing by. And Eric, I know that you're in the thick of things as well. What are you seeing?
Well, I couldn't wait as long as I could to be able to tell you exactly what I've been seeing, but what I saw just within the last minute and a half is on Centennial and Mule Deer. There had talked earlier about an eyewitness report about flames on the west side of Centennial, and that is correct. It is starting to come down the hill. It's not an exorbitant amount, but it is enough. It's probably embers that are flying from some other areas, but it is in the field itself. As you were just saying just moments ago, because I called KRDO News Radio, the fact was that the Centennial going typically would be going southbound is closed, whereas only northbound is open, and they're just letting people to continue to go southbound on the northbound side. There's ash. There's a steady stream of ash. I'm over in the Ute Valley Park area where I've also seen fire crews and fire engines hunkering down to see what's going to happen next, because a lot of this now is about embers, and it's also about floating ash and what happens next. But it is the smell of smoke. There is flames on the Centennial side, not a large amount, but enough that would get people's attention and also consideration and fire crews, and that's why they shut down that what was typically the southbound side of Centennial and rerouted everybody to go the other way.
Eric, as you know, this is Matt Meister here, my friend. Flying W Ranch Road makes a big arc through Mountain Shadows. It starts at Centennial and Vindicator, goes up into the hills, and then comes back out on 30th. And what we're hearing on scanner traffic is that there are multiple structures that are on fire in that area, and they are not fighting them right now. And that does include the east side of Flying W Road at Majestic, and also at, I believe, Champaign is what has just been handed to me. And
Jesus.
People are experiencing a lot of traffic backups. We want to tell people that if you are watching us now on KRDO News Channel 13, you can also listen to us. So that way, if you're having to leave your home, you can also take us with you in your car. That's 105.5 FM, 1240 AM. We are also streaming live on our app that you can buy at the iTunes store. That's available for iPhone and also Android. So we are serving you on all of our different platforms in this time of disaster. Matt, you have something to say?
Heather, let's be clear what up the front range means for the short term here. We still have that northwest wind. This is from Monument, and look at all of the smoke has pushed away from the foothills now. And so we should actually use the terminology down the front range, because for the time being, this northwesterly wind will tend to push the fire from where it is in mountain shadows